Welcome to G Fun Facts Online. Today we are diving deep into a discovery that fundamentally changes how we look at the night sky and, perhaps, how we look at ourselves. We are talking about Asteroid Bennu, a small, diamond-shaped rock that has been circling the sun for billions of years, and the incredible secrets it recently revealed to scientists here on Earth. In September 2023, a capsule from NASA's OSIRIS-REx mission plummeted through Earth's atmosphere and landed in the Utah desert. Inside was a cup full of black dust, about 121 grams of material. This wasn't just any dust. It was the most pristine extraterrestrial material ever analyzed, and what researchers found inside has rewritten the story of life's origins. They found sugar. Specifically, they found ribose and glucose. Now, before we get into the biology, we have to understand the magnitude of this mission and why Bennu is so special. Bennu is what astronomers call a rubble pile asteroid. Unlike Earth, which melts its crust and recycles rocks through volcanoes and tectonics, Bennu is a fossil. It is a loose collection of rocks, held together by gravity, that has remained virtually unchanged for 4.5 billion years. It is a time capsule from the solar nebula that gave birth to our sun and planets. When the OSIRIS-REx spacecraft arrived at Bennu in 2018, it spent 2 years mapping the surface before performing a dramatic touch-and-go maneuver in October 2020. It descended, tapped the surface with a robotic arm, and blasted a burst of nitrogen gas to stir up the regolith, capturing the sample. The key here is the pristine nature of this sample. We have meteorites that fall to Earth all the time, but the moment they hit the ground, they are contaminated. They get covered in Earth bacteria, pollen, and oils from human hands. The Bennu samples were sealed in space and opened in a specialized clean room. This means the chemistry inside is pure, unadulterated history. So let's talk about the headline discovery: ribose. In biological terms, ribose is an absolute superstar. You have heard of DNA and RNA. Well, the R in RNA stands for ribonucleic acid, and that ribo comes from ribose. It is the sugar molecule that forms the backbone of RNA. This is crucial because of something called the RNA world hypothesis. This is one of the leading theories for how life began. It suggests that before we had complex DNA or proteins, single-stranded RNA molecules did everything. They stored genetic codes, and they acted as chemical catalysts. But there has always been a problem with this theory, known as the sugar crisis. Ribose is notoriously unstable and very difficult to make under the chaotic conditions of early Earth. Critics argued that if the Earth couldn't make ribose easily, the RNA world couldn't start. The discovery on Bennu offers an elegant solution. Earth didn't need to make it. The ribose was delivered. Finding this sugar on an asteroid tells us that this critical component of life didn't need to form from scratch in the magma and volcanoes of the Hadean Earth. Instead, it formed in the cold vacuum of space and was delivered by the bombardment of asteroids and comets that pummeled our young planet 4 billion years ago. But the surprises didn't stop at ribose. The team also identified glucose. This was a first for such a pristine sample. While ribose is structural, glucose is energy. It is the fuel that powers cellular respiration in nearly every living thing on Earth. The fact that Bennu carried both the structural blueprints for genetic material and the potential energy source to power it is staggering. It implies that asteroids are like cosmic starter kits, preloaded with the essential ingredients for biology. Now let's get into the weird stuff. The scientists found something that colloquially called space gum. When they looked at the sample, they found a strange, gummy, organic material that wasn't a mineral and wasn't a simple molecule. It was a complex polymer. Chemical analysis suggests this gum formed through the reaction of ammonia and formaldehyde, two simple molecules that were abundant in the early solar system. In the presence of liquid water, which existed inside Bennu's parent body billions of years ago, these chemicals reacted to form complex polymers like hexamethylene-tetramine, or HMT. Why does this matter? Because this space gum acts like a protective matrix. Just as amber preserves ancient insects on Earth, this organic polymer may have trapped and protected fragile molecules like ribose and amino acids, shielding them from the harsh radiation of space for eons until they could be safely delivered to a planet. The presence of this chemistry also tells us about where Bennu came from. The detection of high levels of ammonia and ammonium salts is a smoking gun for the asteroid's history. Ammonia is highly volatile. It boils away very easily. Finding it in solid salts suggests that Bennu's parent body formed in the freezing outer reaches of the solar system, likely beyond the orbit of Jupiter, before migrating inward toward Earth. This supports the idea that asteroids act as cosmic freight trains, transporting volatiles and organics from the cold outer system to the warm, rocky inner planets. The return of the Bennu samples also allowed for a fascinating comparison with another asteroid, Ryugu, which was sampled by the Japanese Hayabusa 2 mission. Both are carbon-rich asteroids, but they aren't twins. Ryuga samples didn't show the same clear signatures of sugars like ribose and glucose. This might be due to differences in how much water they were exposed to in the past, or simply that the Bennu sample was larger, allowing us to find rarer molecules. But there was one similarity between them that answers a massive question about the origin of life: homochirality. Life on Earth is picky. We use exclusively left-handed amino acids and right-handed sugars. Molecules can have a handedness, just like your hands, mirror images that can't be superimposed. If life came entirely from space, we might expect asteroids to show this same bias. However, samples from both Bennu and Ryugu showed a racemic mixture. That means an equal 50-50 split of left and right-handed molecules. This is a profound finding. It suggests that the handedness of life did not originate in space. The asteroids provided the raw materials, the bricks, but the architectural choice to use only left-handed bricks likely happened here on Earth, driven by local environmental conditions or the specific chemistry of the very first replicating molecules. Now, you might be wondering, how do we know this isn't just contamination? How do we know some scientist didn't sneeze on the sample? The answer lies in the physics of isotopes. Carbon on Earth is 99% carbon-12 and 1% carbon-13. However, organic molecules formed in the cold vacuum of space often have a higher ratio of carbon-13. The sugars found in Bennu were enriched in heavy carbon-13, a signature that is impossible to reproduce with terrestrial biological contamination. Furthermore, researchers found presolar grains inside the sample. These are microscopic diamonds and silicates that formed in the explosions of ancient supernovae before our sun even existed. These grains are tiny time capsules, proving the material has remained unprocessed since the solar nebula collapsed. So what does this all mean for us and the universe? If Bennu, a random, small asteroid, is packed with the ingredients for life, it stands to reason that these ingredients are ubiquitous throughout the galaxy. It changes the math for life on Mars, which was also bombarded by asteroids in its youth. It raises hopes for the icy moons of Europa and Enceladus, where asteroid impacts could have delivered these sugars to their subsurface oceans. And it tells us something profound about exoplanets orbiting distant stars. The chemistry that creates ribose and amino acids appears to be a universal imperative of carbon chemistry in space. The OSIRIS-REx mission returned more than just dust. It returned a change in perspective. We often view life as a miracle, a rare anomaly struggling against a cold, dead universe. But the sugars of Bennu tell a different story. They tell us that the universe is predisposed to life. The vacuum of space is not an empty void, but a vast chemical factory, churning out the sugars, fats, and proteins necessary for biology and storing them in freezing asteroid lockers. We have known for a long time that we are made of stardust, but thanks to Bennu, we now know we are also made of celestial sugar, delivered across the heavens to sweeten the primordial seas of our home world. That is the story of Bennu, and it is just the beginning of what these samples will teach us.